back in the day. Look at that. I told him one of my sons, he's definitely right, but he's doing everything lefty. I think he's trying, literally. I said, keep doing it. Like, they're twins. I'm like, we need one scholarship. If lefty pitchers get it out. You throw hard to the left. Yeah. Back in the day. Look at that. I told him one of my sons, he's definitely right, but he's doing everything lefty. I think he's trying, literally. I said, keep doing it. Like, they're twins. I'm like, we need one scholarship. If lefty pitchers get it out. You throw hard to the left. Yeah. Back in the day. Look at that. I told him one of my sons, he's definitely right, but he's doing everything lefty. I think he's trying, literally. I said, keep doing it. Like, they're twins. I'm like, we need one scholarship. If lefty pitchers get it out. You throw hard to the left. Yeah.
Well, believe me, it's an honor to be here. You know, I've been a NASCAR race fan for many, many years, and I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the drivers and become friends with them, and I just want to wish the best man to win today because they're all friends of mine, so I can't pick one. But it's you know, doing my Walker Texas Ranger series in Dallas, you know, I had the opportunity to come up here quite often to you know, to watch the races. In fact, my son Eric was a NASCAR driver, and he raced here several times. But his film career kind of took over from him, you know, from his ambition to be a race car driver. But it's really an honor to be here and a chance to see all of you.
Now, of course, you have been immortalized here in recent years with the internet sensation known as the Chuck Norris memes. We did some here at the Speedway over a 7-day period this week after announcing, in the last 2 weeks, after announcing that you were introducing the Chase drivers also with meme fashion. How did this come to be, and do you like the Chuck Norris memes?
Well, actually, it's a great compliment. 10 years ago, which is amazing, a young college kid from Brown University sent me 3 of these Chuck Norris facts. And I read them, and I go, golly, these are pretty funny. In fact, the first one I read was they wanted to put Chuck Norris on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't tough enough for his beard. That was the first one I read. Of course, you know, I thought, well, this is, you know, that would be it. Then the college kids gravitated to these facts, and then all of a sudden they all started writing their own facts, and then the high school kids and the middle school kids. Then I get a call from the commandant in 2006. I get a call from the commandant in Iraq. He says, Chuck, the troops are driving me crazy. They're into these Chuck Norris facts, and they're asking us to bring you over here. And would you be interested in coming to Iraq? I said, I'd be more than happy to come if I can go around to the bases and camps and personally meet the troops. And he said, we can make that happen. So I went over there and I shook hands with and took pictures with 20,000 troops the first time. Then I went over in 2007 and shook hands with 20,000 more. But I have to tell you a funny story because I'm doing all Air Force, Marines. Anyway, I have a group of Marines, about 1,000 of them. And so they're all in line. And so the Marine comes up, says, round kick me in the head. I go, oh, golly, if I start that, I'm in trouble. I said, I'll do better than that. And I spun him around, and I got him in a chokehold. And they took the picture, and he walked off. Next Marine comes up, get me in a chokehold. So now every Marine, I'm getting in a chokehold. About the 30th Marine, I get him in a chokehold, and the cameraman starts changing film. So I kind of rest my head on his shoulder. I choked him unconscious. He falls to the ground. All of his buddies now are taking pictures of him unconscious, and I finally get him back alive, and he wobbles off, and I said, that's it, no more chokeholds, guys. Well, this guy, everywhere I go to a camp on the Iranian border or the Syrian border, and they say, we heard about you choking out that Marine. I go, how did you hear about that? Way out here, you know. But he became pretty famous, the kid did. But it's amazing how these what's great about it is these Chuck Norris facts have reconnected me to the young people. And so that's been the greatest thing, as far as I'm concerned, about the Chuck Norris Facts.
Also, you're working with young people, too. I know you've got a charitable organization, Kickstart Kids. Tell us a little bit about that and the fundraising for that.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm wearing this T-shirt. I would not wear a T-shirt with my face on it if I wasn't doing it for a good cause. Anyway, we have a foundation called Kickstart Kids, and we teach the martial arts in the public schools with the purpose, of, again, of raising these kids' self-esteem, instilling the discipline and respect so many kids are lacking today. And we've been doing it now for 23 years. We started with 150 kids 23 years ago. We currently have almost 9,000 kids in the program. We have graduated 85,000 over the last 23 years, and most of these kids going on to become successful in their own right. It's interesting, we just did a fundraiser for a bunch of CEOs in Houston. And this one CEO comes up to me and says, I told my executive president, my executive producer, that I was going to go to one of these Chuck Norris Kickstart things. And she says, oh, really? Says, I'm a graduate of Kickstart Kids. So it's really great to see, you know, many of our youngsters who have graduated from our program to become successful in their own right.
And where can they get that shirt?
Oh, they can get this shirt at represent.com/Chuck Yao. But I did not make this shirt up. Someone else did. But anyway, again, like I said, it's primarily as a fundraiser because our program runs about $6 million a year. So my wife, Jean, and I are constantly out there trying to raise money to keep the program and expanding the program. And that's really my mission in life. Being a martial art teacher for 15 years, you know, I worked with thousands of young people, but these are youngsters whose parents could afford to bring them to my school and pay the tuition. And I always thought, well, what about the millions of youngsters in America whose parents can't afford it? And so that was always in the back of my mind. And in 1992, I was able to start this program in one school in Houston. And it was very successful. That slowly helped us expand from one school to the other. But it's been an ever-ending job raising the money to keep the program going.
And then I know your latest venture along with your wife, Gina, is C-Force bottled water. You got some right there. And I know there's a very interesting story behind C-Force.
Yeah, you know, God works in mysterious ways. You know, this is another way for us to raise money for our program. And we were drilling for wells on our 1,000-acre ranch near College Station. And on the third well, we hit an aquifer. And the water started spraying up like an oil well. And it's flooded my whole 1,000 acres, plus our neighbor's property. And I'm pulling my hair out, so I bring out a hydrogeologist. I said, what do I do with this water? We tried to cap it, blew the cap off. And so anyway, he checks the water, and he says, this water is 23,000 years old. It's from the last ice age, and it's some of the purest water I have ever found throughout the world. And so anyway, my wife Gina says, God is speaking. And he says, yeah, so this is a woman-owned company. I'm just a cheerleader for this C-Force water. Anyway, my wife started a water bottling company across the street from our ranch. And so when he says, I'm going to open a plant across the street, and we're going to bottle this water. And I said, okay, fine. You know, so I'm thinking a 5,000 square foot, 6,000 square foot plant. 43,500 square foot plant she built. And she's using every square inch of it, but it's been incredible because she's done an incredible job. It's going into HEB. She can tell you more about it where it's all going, but it's going on to where is it, baby?
Albertsons, Tom Thumb, and Randall's.
Yeah, Albertsons, Tom Thumb, Randall's are currently and.
A portion of the proceeds go to
Yeah, and she said, yeah, of course, and the portion of the money we get goes to our foundation. So,
only the purest of water could be found on Chuck Norris's land, right?
well, my wife says when Chuck Norris stares at the ground, the water surrenders.
All right, we'll open it up to a few questions here. Wolfgang?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Wolfgang Monzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Around late 70s, early 80s, there was the commentator said you were karate champion. So a very famous, popular karate and kung fu champion from Asia. I think he came from Hong Kong, Bruce Lee, and opened his own race team in England, an open wheel. You said you're a race fan. Are you also playing with the idea to have your own race team one day?
Well, yeah. Well, you know, interesting about Bruce Lee. In 1968, when I was fighting for the world championship, Bruce Lee was there as a special guest. He was doing the TV show, The Green Hornet. And after I won the title, you know, the promoter of the event introduced Bruce and I. And so anyway, Bruce and I decided to work out in Los Angeles when we went back. So Bruce and I trained together for about 3 years. And then he left for Hong Kong to pursue his movie career. And I didn't hear from him for like 2 years. Then out of the blue, he calls me up. He says, Chuck, I've done 2 movies in Hong Kong, and they're really successful. He said, I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that everyone will remember, and I want to do it in the Colosseum in Rome, and I want you to be my opponent. So kiddingly, I said, well, Bruce, who wins? He says, I win. I'm the star of this movie. I said, oh, I see, because I still held the world title at that time. I said, I see. You want to beat up the world champion, huh? He said, He said, I want to kill the world champion, which he did, you know, but interesting, though. He said, I won't make you out to be a bad guy. When I kill you, I'm going to lay your karate uniform over you and your belt, like very ceremoniously, so the audience won't think you're a bad guy. I said, well, that's good. So anyway, that was before I ever had any intention of getting into the film business, and that was 1972. So,
other questions? Right over here. Hold on just a second.
Austin Robinson, UTA Radio Sports. What was it like in Expendables 3 with all the action heroes that we've watched over the years?
Well, it's interesting. You know, when Sly Stallone called me up, said, Chuck, well, it was Expendables 2, actually. That one made a lot of me. Expendables 3 didn't do well. But Expendables 2, and so anyway, they called me up and said, Chuck, would you do a cameo on Expendables 2? And, you know, and I've known Sly Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger for over 30 years. And so kiddingly, I said, Sly, what makes you think I want to play second banana to you and Arnold? Kidding, right? He said, no, you save our lives. You're the hero in this movie. You're gonna save our lives and all this stuff here. Of course, I said, anyway, I did. I went to Bulgaria and did it, and it was a lot of fun, actually, you know. But
right up here.
Dan McFadden, NBC Sports. I was wondering, over the last 3 decades or so, how's your view or your appreciation of your place in pop culture evolved through all the movies and TV shows and ultimately with the jokes?
Well, you know, for a little Okie kid who grew up in poverty, barely got out of high school, you know, it's, you know, I thought about this. I've been thinking about this for many years, and you know, and I really believe that God had a plan for me. And because for me, you know, to grow up, and I was non-athletic, I never participated in sports, and then to become a 6-time undefeated world karate champion, and I was extremely shy growing up, and to get into the film world, and put it all on the line on film, I've often wondered how was I able to accomplish that. And I have to say, you know, that it was God's plan, because without the celebrity and my martial art background, I could never have started my Kickstart Kids program. Because with my celebrity, I was able to meet President George H.W. Bush, who helped me to get the program started in the public school system, because I went to the Board of Education in the middle of my career, asking them if I could start a program like this in the public school system. And the director said, Chuck, that will never happen in a public school. So, you know, so I forgot all about it. And then as luck would have it, through my celebrity and getting to know President Bush quite well, he asked me, did I have any other ambition outside of my martial arts and my film career? And this had been like 8 years when I was thinking of this. So I thought, well, now that you mention it, yes, you know, I would like to start a martial art program in the public school to help get these kids going down the right path of life, primarily in the middle schools, because that's when the kids start to drift from in one direction or the other. So if we can get them in the martial arts with the philosophy that we instill, we can get them going down the right path of life. And so I explained it all, and he said, well, why haven't you done that? I said, well, the Board of Education said they wouldn't allow that. He said, well, maybe I can help you out there. And so, of course, through his influence, we were able to open our first school in Houston with 150 kids. And as I've said, over the last 23 years, we've expanded now from 1 school to 56 schools, and with almost 9,000 kids currently in the program. And my goal is to saturate this program in every middle school and high school in Texas. And then when the other states see, well, how come teen pregnancy is going down? Why is school violence going down? Why is gang activity going down? And when they say, well, it's because of this program, see, then other states hopefully will want to bring the program into their states. But I want to focus on Texas right now.
Well, Chuck, on behalf of the entire staff of Texas Motor Speedway, it is an honor to have you here today. We can't wait for driver intros. You're going to be introducing our 8 chasers for the AAA Texas 500 today. And as we let you go, before you walk off, I believe we have a photo op with our next guest they would like to have up here. But again, Chuck Norris, everybody, here to do our driver intros.
Thank you very much.